Greetings everybody. So we are starting with the third unit of the paper Nationalism in India. So in the third unit is nationalist politics and expansion of its social base. So we can divide this third unit into three parts. The first would be phases of nationalist movement, liberal constitutionalist, Swadeshi and radicals, beginning of constitutionalism in India. In this, the third part I am skipping. The first three, that phases of nationalist movement, liberal, constitutionalist and Swadeshi and radicals would be taken. In the B part, it would be Gandhian phase, the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience, quit India movement. C part would be the revolutionary, socialist and communist phases. So most probably I would be completing this unit with 3 video sessions, or might be 4, not sure. So let's start. Phases of nationalist movements. So in the first unit we studied the different approaches to nationalism. In the second we studied the reform movements which helped in rise of nationalism. Now here we studied the phases of nationalist movement, the liberal, constitutionalist and Swadeshi and radicals. Okay. So INC, Indian National Congress, founded in 1885 by A.O. Hume, emerged as the leading organization of the Indian national movement. While early historians like R.P. Dutt claimed the British encouraged its formation as a safety valve for Indian discontent, modern historians like Bipin Chandra argue that the Indian leaders strategically used British liberal support to advance their own nationalist goals. We have discussed in the last unit. The roots of Indian nationalism lay in earlier socio-political reform movements such as Brahmo Samaj, British India Society, Indian Association led by Surendranath Banerjee, which represented the educated middle class. These efforts culminated in the first All India National Conference in 1883, presided by Ananda Mohan Bose, aiming for a national parliament. The formation of INC was not a British creation but the natural outcome of the growing Indian political consciousness and organization. Now, a liberal constitutionalist. The Indian National Congress, from its early years, decided to focus on issues common to Indians across regions, particularly those arising from their interaction with British colonial rule. It consciously avoided social reform debates, aiming instead to serve as a political body representing Indian aspirations. Leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji emphasized presenting political demands to the rulers while building unity across provinces, religions and communities. The early political strategy of the Congress involved organizing participation, mobilizing public opinion, sending appeals and petitions to the British government and people. Okay. That Indian leaders believed they would respond positively. However, since democratic politics was a new concept in India, the initial goal was to politicize the educated elite, uniting them nationally before reaching out to the wider population. So, W.C. Banerjee, the first Congress president, okay, just a second, let me highlight this, stated that fostering national unity and friendship among committed Indians was a core objective. At this stage, Congress was a movement rather than a political party and refrained from mass demonstrations or protest. Its primary tools were petition, prayer, memorials. Memorials. Later, leaders labeled as extremist criticized these moderate methods. Yet these efforts laid the foundation for political unity and awareness. Leaders like Justice Ranade believed that while memorials seemed ineffective, their true purpose was to educate and awaken the public, as Indian political consciousness was still in its infancy. Moreover, the Congress was modeled after a parliamentary body with decisions made through debate, discussion and voting. Sorry, I had some. I'm really sorry. I was having some. Yeah. Okay. So the early phase, though limited in results, played a critical role in establishing the foundation of Indian nationalism and democratic engagement. So Swadeshi and radicals. So that is what with the liberal constitutionalist. Now next is Swadeshi and radicals. Okay. First is the rise of extremism and discontent with moderates. So the early 20th century saw growing frustration with moderate Congress leaders, whose methods of petitions and appeals had achieved little only. A new generation of educated but unemployed Indians, along with continued agrarian and labor distress, began demanding more forceful action. Younger nationalists, impatient with the lack of political and economic progress, started questioning the moderate approach. The continued hostility of the British government to Indian demands further alienated the masses and leaders alike. The second was the partition of Bengal. So, the partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon was the immediate trigger for radicalization. Though officially an administrative decision, it was clearly intended to undermine nationalist unity, especially Bengal being a hub of political activity. British officials, including Curzon and Risley, admitted the partition aimed to divide and weaken the nationalism by splitting Hindu-Muslim unity. This sparked unprecedented public outrage and resistance, laying the foundation of the Swadeshi movement. Third, the Swadeshi movement began as a protest against the Bengal partition but soon grew into a nationwide mass movement. Methods included boycott of British goods, promotion of Indian industries, public meetings, processions. Also, the movement saw a widespread participation from all kinds of people. Then comes the radicals or extremists. Leaders like Bala Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai emerged as the key figures. Lal Bal Pal. They advocated for aggressive methods like mass mobilization, boycotts, political assertion, moving away from moderate reliance on British goodwill. These leaders gave a nationalist edge to cultural and religious symbols using tools like Ganesh Utsav, then Vande Mataram to inspire mass unity and pride. The radicals were bolstered by Hindu cultural revival that stressed self-pride and sacrifice. Thinkers like Swami Vivekananda urged Indians to reject weakness and embrace strength. Swami Dayananda Saraswati and Arya Samaj promoted reform and nationalism in North India. The sorry, the Swadeshi movement encouraged Indians to establish indigenous industries to reduce economic dependence on British. Indian entrepreneurs started soap, chemicals, textile factories, also a shipping company as well. The Tata Steel Company received enthusiastic support with capital easily raised within the country. Now, moderate versus radicals. While moderates supported Swadeshi, they opposed the boycott of British goods as a political tool, fearing it would alienate British sympathizers. Moderates still believed in working with British system, seeking self-rule similar to dominions like Canada. In contrast, radicals saw British rule as illegitimate and pushed for complete independence. And this ideological rift led to increased popularity of radicals, especially among the youth and middle class. Though initially led by moderates, Swadeshi movement became a platform for radical ideas and mass awakening. For the first time, students and women took active roles in national movement. Failure of peaceful protest to reverse the Bengal partition deepened disillusionment and paved the way for more assertive nationalism. The movement helped lay the foundation for future struggles and making mass protest and economic nationalism central to the Indian freedom movement. Okay. Now, so that's all about third unit's first part. Okay, third unit's A part is over now. Now third unit's B part, Gandhian phase. The B part is again divided into three: non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and Quit India movement. Okay, so an introduction for the Gandhian phase first of all. So we know Mahatma Gandhi. The early journey of Mahatma Gandhi would be between 1915 and 1919. So after returning to India in 1915, Gandhi aimed to bridge the gap between educated elite and common masses. Okay. He believed in the strength of ordinary people and travelled across the country to understand their conditions and problems firsthand. Earlier initiatives, that is between so you see here, between 1915 and 1919, his earlier initiatives can be divided into five. The first and the foremost important one would be the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917. Gandhi's first civil disobedience movement in India. Champaran Satyagraha, Gandhiji's first civil disobedience movement in India. Peasants were forced under the Trinkatiya system to grow indigo on part of their land and sell it at low fixed prices. Gandhi investigated the grievances at the request of Rajkumar Shukla. The movement helped instill confidence and courage among the peasants. It marked Gandhi's first successful mass movement in India. Okay, so that is very important, Champaran Satyagraha. Second is the Ahmedabad mill strike. It is in 1918, a dispute between mill workers and the owners over wage. Gandhi supported workers advocating a 35% wage increase. He used the Satyagraha method to demand justice peacefully. Now third is the Kheda Satyagraha, 1918. It was Gandhi led a campaign asking farmers to refuse tax payments due to crop failure. The British eventually agreed, returning confiscated property and suspending tax collection. The movement enhanced Gandhiji's reputation as a mass leader. The fourth is the Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh massacre, 1990. The Rowlatt Act allowed imprisonment without trial and curbed press freedom. Gandhi initiated nationwide satyagraha in protest. The protest led to Jallianwala Bagh massacre, where General Dyer killed 379 unarmed civilians. Gandhiji withdrew the movement due to rising violence, reaffirming his commitment to non-violence. So these are the four. So these movements marked Gandhiji's transition from returning leader to a national figure, introducing mass-based peaceful resistance to the freedom struggle. So next is we said that we are dividing the B part of third unit into three parts. The first is the non-cooperation movement, Khilafat and non-cooperation movement in 1990. So this was a crucial phase of India's fight against British rule, emerging against the backdrop of post-World War I challenges, including economic hardship, political disillusionment. These movements were significant for the ability to unite Hindus and Muslims under a common cause. So the background of this is that after World War I, economic conditions worsened in India with rising prices and industrial stagnation. The Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh massacre led to nationwide protest. The Hunter Commission sent up to investigate the massacre failed to punish General Dyer. The Monday-Kempford reforms of 1990 reduced Indian self-governance, consolidated the feeling that British were not interested in Indian welfare. So the Khilafat issue. So Indian Muslims, especially the Ali brothers, Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, were angered by the British treatment of the Ottoman Empire, which was seen as spiritual center for Muslims. Following World War I, Britain removed the Sultan of Turkey, which angered Muslims worldwide. So demand was the restoration of Khilafah's authority and territories. The Khilafat conference was organized in 1990 to pressurize the British into reconsidering their policies towards Turkey and Muslims. So nationwide agitation happened, boycott on British goods happened. So Gandhiji's stand for the Khilafat movement was that Gandhiji saw the Khilafat movement as an opportunity to unite Hindus and Muslims against British. So this alliance could advance the nationalist struggle and help consolidate Indian opposition to British rule. Gandhiji and Ali brothers travelled across India, rallying people to join the movement. Thousands of students left government schools and colleges to join nationalist institutions. Prominent leaders like Nehru, C.R. Das, Rajagopalachari gave up their law practices in solidarity with movement. Boycotted foreign cloth, picketing foreign liquor shops, boycotting British goods. Peasants in regions like Rajasthan, Sindh, Maharashtra revolted against landlords and traders. Women actively participated, contributing to Tilak Fund. The aftermath was that the movement came to an abrupt end due to Chauri Chaura incident in Gorakhpur, where 22 policemen were killed by a mob. Gandhiji, a firm believer in non-violence, called off the movement. The Khilafat issue ended and the alliance between the Congress and Muslim League began to disintegrate. The movement's premature end led to a shift in the political landscape, but it also marked the failure of mass non-violent protest in certain circumstances. Next is the civil disobedience movement. Okay. I would take it in the next class maybe. Let me check how many pages there are. Yeah, it's only little, so I could take this as well. So it was between 1830 and 1832. The civil disobedience movement, which began in 1930, marked a significant phase in India's struggle for independence. After the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement, there was a lull in mass protest. However, local protest against British rule, especially in the form of peasant dissatisfaction in areas like Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, laid the foundation for the resurgence of mass agitation. So the background for this is that in 1928 Congress session, leaders like Nehru and Bose criticized the Congress demand for dominion status, calling for Purna Swaraj. Gandhi, however, feared such demands would fragment the movement and preferred a gradual approach. Gandhi spent 1929 travelling across India promoting constructive activities such as boycotting foreign clothes. The Irvine Declaration of 1929 promised dominion status at a round-table conference, but the demands of Indian leaders in the Delhi Manifesto were rejected by the British. So, Independence Pledge of 26, 1930 January. The key moment was the Independence Pledge taken on this day. Okay, that is the freedom is inalienable right of Indians and stated the British government was the cause of India's backwardness. Gandhiji's demands in the Lahore session in 1929 included reducing army and civil service expenditure, introduction of textile production, abolishing salt tax, reducing land revenue by 50%, releasing political prisoners, control over firearm licenses. 1930 Dandi March. The movement gained momentum on 12th March with the Dandi March. Followers marched from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. They defied the salt tax by making salt from seawater. So this was the beginning of this civil disobedience. 300 villages in Gujarat joined the protest. Okay. The civil disobedience movement saw a participation from diverse sections. Women, students, youth, Muslims in areas like northwestern frontier province and Bihar, merchants, tribals, peasants of Maharashtra, Gujarat in large numbers and all. So in 1931, Gandhi-Irvin Pact happened. Okay. British government conceded several demands including release of political prisoners, return of confiscated land, right to make salt for personal use and engage in peaceful picketing. The Communal Award of 1932, introduced by British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, offered separate electorates for depressed classes, which Gandhi opposed, seeing it as a divide and rule tactic. In response, Gandhi went on an indefinite fast to pressurize the British and protect the unity of India. Eventually, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, leader of the depressed classes, agreed to the Pune Pact, which allowed joint electorates with reservations for the depressed classes, thus ending the fast. Okay, you can see the importance of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Pune Pact here. The civil disobedience movement was pivotal in mobilizing widespread resistance against British rule. Though it ended in a temporary stalemate after the Gandhi-Irvin Pact, the movement marked the continuation of India's non-violent resistance but also highlighted the internal divisions, especially regarding the issue of separate electorates for marginalized communities. Now the third is the Quit India movement. It is of 1942. The third and final major movement in India's struggle for independence. Unlike the non-cooperation movement and disobedience movement, civil disobedience movement, it demanded the British leave India immediately, allowing Indians to govern themselves. So, the failure of Cripps mission in 1942, which offered a partial transfer of power to India but kept British control over defense, was a key factor leading to this movement. Quit India movement. Additionally, the growing demand for the Muslim League for a separate Pakistan and rising discontent among the masses due to high prices and crop failures created a volatile situation. The Quit India resolution on the 8th August 1942, the Congress Working Committee passed the Quit India resolution in Bombay by Nehru and Patel. It called for immediate end of British rule, formation of provisional government, after British withdrawal, commitment to defend a free India against foreign rule. Gandhiji could mobilize the masses, lawyers, soldiers, students, peasants, princes, and also the do or die was called, the action do or die was taken at this point of time. However, the British responded swiftly by arresting the top Congress leaders on 9th August 1942, declaring the Congress unconstitutional. Okay. The movement saw widespread participation across all sections of societies. Women leaders like Aruna Asaf Ali, Usha Mehta, students, peasants, workers, zamindars played significant roles. Muslims assisted in sheltering underground activities through Muslim League, opposed the movement due to fear of Hindu dominance if the British left. Now the government response. The British government responded with severe repression using lathi charge, tear gas, firing on protesters. Over 10,000 people were believed to have died and villages were heavily fined. Major centers of the movement were in the Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Midnapur. The significance. The Quit India movement declared the ultimate goal of complete independence for India. Unwavering determination. This was the groundwork for India's independence in 1947. Again, I have made a small short note on Khilafat movement. You can take a screenshot or a print screen if it's in a personal computer. Yep. Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. Okay. Then next is the civil disobedience movement. Then Quit India movement. So that's it. And next is the C part, the third part of the unit 3, the last part of the unit 3. It is revolutionary socialist communist movements, which I will take in the next video session. Till then, bye.